Some people stay calm when things get tense, not because they don't feel pressure, but because they learn to hold it in. That calm often gets rewarded with trust, influence, and money, but it also quietly decides how safe you feel speaking up. If you've ever wondered why composure works or what it quietly costs, those questions are where we begin. This is the Wealth Project, where we don't do celebrity gossip, we decode celebrity success. We break down the psychology, mindset, and identity patterns behind the famous and powerful. If this way of thinking about wealth resonates, you're in the right room. Think about moments where everything is on the line. Deadlines, decisions, conflict. Most people react, some people tighten, a few stay steady. Those steady people are usually seen as strong, reliable, in control. They're trusted with bigger responsibility, bigger stakes. Over time, that composure compounds, socially, professionally, financially. But there's a side almost no one talks about. When calm becomes how you stay powerful, breaking it can start to feel costly. And that's where the conflict begins. One of the clearest examples of this comes from watching how Serena Williams handled pressure, especially when calm stopped being the safest move. Calm as control. Look up a clip and watch Serena in a final. The crowd shifts, the stakes rise, the moment tightens. What's striking isn't her power, it's how little her internal state seems to change. Where others leak emotion through rushed shots, overreactions, or visible frustration, Serena stays inside herself. Not passive, contained. Serena's rule is simple. If she controls her emotional output, she controls the match. This protected her early from hostile crowds, from unfair calls, from narratives trying to define her before she defined herself. And the effect created momentum. Officials trust you more when you're steady. Sponsors prefer reliability. Fans associate calm with predictability. Calm becomes status. Status doesn't come from force, it comes from the person least changed by pressure. That's why calm people often look untouchable, not because they feel nothing, but because nothing decides for them. What's easy to overlook is the cost of that control. The hidden cost of composure. The same containment that protects you early can quietly become the thing you rely on too much later. Because when calm is how you stay powerful, anything that threatens calm starts to feel unsafe. Most ambitious people copy Serena's discipline. Very few notice the internal cost of carrying pressure without release. The 2018 US Open final is remembered for conflict, not tennis. On the biggest stage, Serena receives a coaching violation, then another penalty, then a game penalty. She doesn't absorb it quietly, she confronts it directly. She challenges authority. She demands respect. Moments like this almost never happened to her. Not because she showed emotion, but because containment was no longer enough. And when that containment cracked, the consequences were immediate, but not simple. Momentum shifted. The match slipped away, but control didn't disappear. It moved. She lost the scoreboard, not her authorship. Because real control isn't about staying calm at all costs. It's about knowing what your calm is protecting and when it's time to remove it. Serena didn't break because she couldn't stay calm. She broke because calm was no longer protecting what mattered. This wasn't emotional failure. It was a boundary being enforced in public. And that's the trade-off no one prepares you for. When your power is built on composure, speaking up will always look like self-sabotage, even when it isn't. Power always has a trade-off. What makes emotional containment so effective also makes it weak under perceived injustice. When silence starts to feel unsafe. This is where control stops being about winning and starts being about authorship. The conflict is highlighted here. If your identity depends on staying composed, what happens when calm feels like submission? when silence feels like agreement. This is where control starts to feel complicated, because identity was built to win within the rules, not to redefine them. Serena didn't lose control that day. She chose dignity over containment. And that choice reveals the real conflict. When power is quiet, speaking up always feels like a scream. Consistency turns into ownership. Serena didn't just win matches, she built continuity. Her discipline made her predictable in the best way. Reliable under pressure, consistent in execution. That consistency turned into trust, trust turned into brands, brands turned into ownership. Her wealth story isn't about explosive bets. It's about staying intact long enough for momentum to work. Even her language reflects this identity. She doesn't talk about retirement. She talks about evolution. That framing matters. It keeps control. It avoids collapse. But there's conflict underneath it. When strength becomes your primary identity, stepping away can feel like loss even when it's growth. Rest can feel unsafe because rest removes the structure that proves who you are. This is where momentum slows without warning. Not because they can't work harder, because they don't know how to stop without feeling exposed. The weight of holding it together. After decades of holding it together, even stillness began to carry weight for Serena Williams. Not because she was exhausted, but because she was responsible for maintaining an identity that had done its job. Containment works until it becomes something you have to keep wearing. The physical toll eventually showed itself. Injuries, recovery, time catching up. But the deeper strain was quieter. Who are you when the arena no longer demands your calm? When restraint stops being rewarded in real time? That's where success can start to feel more restrictive instead of more freeing. Not financially, psychologically. You keep earning, but you lose flexibility. You keep control, but you lose ease. The discipline that built everything starts to feel heavy, not because it failed, but because it's no longer meant to be doing the same work. Identities that create dominance are rarely permanent. They're transitional. They carry you far, then ask to be loosened. Serena's story isn't about abandoning discipline. It's about recognizing when discipline no longer needs to be tight to remain real. Not because it failed, because it succeeded. Relentless calm and its shadow. There's a name for this kind of strength: relentless calm. It's the ability to stay regulated while everyone else turns pressure into chaos. It creates dominance, it builds trust, it compounds wealth, but it has a shadow. The difference isn't calm versus emotion, it's whether calm is a choice or a reflex you're afraid to lose. Serena's edge was never suppression, it was command. The moment calm becomes something you must protect, it stops being strength and starts being constraint. If you over-identify with strength, softness feels like risk. If you over-identify with control, rest feels like danger. The identity that fails here is forced intensity, trying to prove power through constant strain. The identity that survives is disciplined calm, control without rigidity, strength without tension. This is where it turns personal. If you've been successful but tight, productive but never fully off duty, this isn't about effort. It's about the identity running your internal pressure system. Force works early, composure lasts longer. From chaos-driven ambition to calm authority, this pattern doesn't just show up in Serena's career, it shows up in how many people move, earn, and decide under pressure. The calm you control is the wealth you keep. Serena Williams didn't just win trophies. She built a brand by staying calm when it mattered most. That calm became trust, trust became business, and business became ownership. Her secret wasn't strength, it was emotional control. Calm wasn't how she avoided pressure, it was how she turned pressure into power. And that's the key. The calm you control becomes the wealth you keep, because winning was never the point. It was about how calm control quietly builds power over time. If this way of thinking about wealth resonates, your next insight with the Wealth Project is right here on your screen.